Live from London, Car-Boyz! Hello, playmates. Yes, I return from those grim satanic mills, oop north, and come back down to soft, shandy drinking southern England to co-host another episode of the show that's got the internet buzzing with excitement. Okay, that's a little strong. It's merely fizzing with excitement. This week, my co-host has a very exciting low-budget car that I just found out about in the classic car selection, and it's Konnichiwa and arigato go to the Far East. I like the classic car selection. It sounds like a 1960s jazz quartet. Nice. We have some global car news from Stuttgart to Detroit via Dagenham in the news. We'll be checking out a couple of cool roads to drive on in Iceland and France, or as the Americans say, France. And in our Lost Highways feature, it's where we pick the best global roads for you to enjoy in your vehicle of choice, now with added slide guitar music royalty-free. I'll be playing host to our weekly quiz, and unlike Bob Monkhouse, Paul Daniels, and Bruce Forsyth, I'll be in the land of the living. No, I'm only joking. I'm going to be handing over the reins of the quiz to guest quizmaster this week. It's TV host Les Johnley, who's been in the media wilderness for the past few years, but he's back on form and asking car-related questions to a lucky London lad in Wheels of Fortune. Do you like what I did there with Les Johnley? Stay tuned to find out what that's all about.
Oh, I think you're just on the safe side of libel there, Rich. Yes, thanks for joining us. It's the car show. As Richard mentioned, we have the amazing classic car in our classic car section this week, as previewed on our Facebook group. It's the world's best-selling two-seater roadster. Ooh, I wonder what that could be. And we got news, we got views, but unfortunately, we ain't got the booze, as a show is as sober as a scouting weekend in Utah. Yes, sirree. But we have to get some great correspondence. We've got some great correspondence from listeners to the show. We'll be answering the questions you want to know the answers to in the mailbag, which will be exposing to all and sundry. Ooh, matron filthy. Anyway, I'm Simon Sijuan, and I'm the kind of man who wears high karate. I used to like high karate. It smells really nice. And likes the ladies, and in particular, Eurovision vocalists and gingers, or both. When I say, ooh, just a little bit, ooh, a little bit more, I know what you're looking for.
Thanks, Gina. And I'm Richard Green. And right said Fred, both of us together, one on each end steady as we go. Try to shift it, couldn't even lift it. We was getting nowhere, so we had a cup of tea. And that's exactly how the unions destroyed British industry in the 1970s.
Yeah.
That and Bernard Cribbins destroyed the unions in the 1970s. Would you like a little bit? Should we have a bit of news? Oh, no, hang on. We haven't said it. This is Car-Boyz. We're going to have some news in a bit, but it's time now for my weekly rant where I chat crap for a few minutes. But it's not just worthless crap. It's valid crap. It's crap that other broadcasters just won't touch. This channel and the show are completely gratis, and we do not get paid for this product. And big corporations do not sponsor us. So journalistically, and I use the term very loosely, we are free agents in search of truth and nothing but the truth. So help us Jesus, Allah, Lord Buddha, Vishnu, and of course Mazda, the Zoroastrian god of fire, and small to middle-range budget Japanese cars. But I digress. Well, last weekend I had fun visiting relatives, and I use the term fun very loosely. I parked outside one of their homes, and there was a Tesla 3, and I thought, ooh, I'll go and have a look. So me and my 4-year-old son and myself walked up to the car and had a good look round, and we had a peek inside. And it's my first look at a Tesla. It's my first look at a Tesla brand totally, and they're nothing like any other car out there. The interior is plain. It's quite futuristic and spacious. In this model, there was lots of white and I presume what looks like leather. There's also no recognisable dashboard in front of the driver, which is weird. There's no speedometer, no rev counter, no tachometer, no sign of gauges or dials of any kind. Even in the new Mercedes, they don't have this, but it is a digital display. There is literally nothing in front of the wheel. There's just a big iPad-like screen in the centre console. It's all very 21st century, and what I imagined the future of cars to be like. What I needed was George Jensen to turn up in his flying car. And if you get that reference, you're definitely over the age of 40. Meet George Jensen. That's quite. Do you remember the opener to the Jetsons? It was quite sexist.
His boy Elroy,
His
daughter
boy Elroy,
Judy,
and the wife turned up, and she always wanted money, and he had to give her a load of money.
Yes,
She wants the money,
Jane,
goddamn
his
bitch.
wife.
Yeah, it's sort of in some of the honey movies. He went, "Well, I'm gonna slap you on the side of the face, Margie." Yeah, very strange. But we're looking at this Tesla, and something really weird, and something I've never ever seen before happened. My son stepped a little too close to the car, and in the iPad in the center, a big red record button appeared in the central screen, which read underneath Sentry Mode activated. And we stepped back to a little shocked, as neither of us had touched the car. I was suddenly realizing we're being recorded. And how many owners of expensive and beautiful cars in the past would have loved this idea? Yes, they would think, I can keep the grubby little fingers of the hoi polloi away from my beautiful machine. But unlike Two Live Crew, it's a big but, I can't lie.
Word. You go, girl.
This feels like an invasion of privacy. And how much will this be extended to life of the actual owner as well? So I'm assuming that these dash cams, I think there's about 6 all around the car, will be recording all the activity of the owner. Himself, herself, C-self, X-self, non-gender binary self. God, the 21st century is so exhausting. And if a car crashes into you, you'll have all the information and you'll have recorded it. But how long before Tesla and the government du jour can tap into the recording on your car? And they can see where you are on a satellite, courtesy of GPS, in your car, driving along that road. You were supposed to be doing 30 miles an hour, but you're actually driving 36. And now that's a £100 fine and 3 points. Now, you would mind just bending over so we can shove this tracker up your bum and tattoo a barcode on the back of your neck, and we'll all praise the work of Big Brother and our new overlord, Cybernet. That might be going a bit too far, but I'm not saying you should break the law on the road, although all of us do all of the time, whether we know it or not. What I'm saying is, how much should companies like Tesla have to intrude into our lives and the lives of others? Yeah, convenience is great and connectivity is great, but what price does one pay for these things? And if you really want your car observing you every move, do you want that? Because I don't. So It was just very strange to see this thing going, boop, Sentry activated. And maybe it's my age, but I do have memories of, I've got a feeling it's RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
Weapon detected. No, I'm not holding a weapon. Weapon detected. And they'd go through all these RoboCops that were just killing lots of people. I just find it quite slightly sinister.
It's really odd. So I'm assuming the camera's all dotted around the car and they can see who's peeking in.
So you've got a 180-degree angle. I had looked this up online on the front. Yeah. And then there's one at the back. And I think there might be 2, one on each side as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
quite scary.
So it's a completely. So a guy online posted it with 6 screens, and you can see all around the car. And he was walking up to it. I think he tapped it with a cushion, and it was recording. Look, you're not going to catch the guy breaking into the car with a baseball cap because you'll go, "Who was it?" I don't know. It was a guy with a baseball cap. What does he look like? A guy with a baseball cap.
Baseball cap.
I mean, but. Yeah, it just weirded me out. And the government have announced today, I don't know if you caught this, this was in the news, that they're thinking of, now there's new electric cars coming online. They're going to be facing less revenue from diesel and petrol locomotives. And they think all new cars should have a chip so that you can be monitored how much mileage you do and pay per mile.
Wow.
I assume that's in, if you're listening in America, you've no idea what we're talking about. We have a road tax over here, which you have to pay annually, and the more polluting your vehicle, the more money you pay, and it ranges from £30 to, I think, in excess of 500.
Yeah.
So you have to pay that every time you buy petrol, fuel, gasoline, and diesel. You have to pay tax on that, which is very hefty. Every time you buy a car, you have to pay tax on that. Every time you get your car serviced, as I found out recently with a huge bill, you have to pay another 20%. So yeah, the latest thing is they want to put something else in your car to monitor it.
So is it just raising revenue? Is that what they're thinking?
They're worried that everybody's going to have an electric car and they'll have no revenue from that.
There you go. It's governments do not work.
I think I'm hoping for a Mad Max dystopian future in that case, with me going around in some Ford Falcon trying to scavenge petrol from a tanker I've just harpooned. Have you driven a Tesla yet? Because I haven't.
I've not driven one. I've been inside them because they sell their cars through, I think it's like department store sort of thing. So they have one, what's the big one outside London? I think it's Blue Water. They have a Tesla showroom in the shopping centre. And you can go inside it. And if you then like the look of it, you can test drive it. And you go down to the car park, the multi-storey car park. They're all parked up there, charging up. And then you can drive it around the car park.
Right. Now, I hear they're frighteningly fast. The scale electric's car, not like a milk float.
What? So you first sign of a corner, you flip over and
exactly
onto the carpet,
and you hit the mantelpiece, and you scare the cat, and then you go straight under the sofa.
And then someone puts you on the wrong way round, and you're going backwards, and everything. Yeah,
it's a nightmare. Yeah. The interesting thing is that you say this, so it's like I've heard before. You can go and pick your colour and pick your choice. There's very little aftercare with Teslas. If you get that engine wet, that car's a write-off.
We talked about this previously,
yeah,
didn't we?
There's a guy in the States who basically Frankenstein's Teslas. He'll take, this one's got a broken engine, this one's got a broken body, and he'll make a new Tesla out of both. But you would have thought that would be able to go to Tesla and say, I need this part, I need this part. They want nothing to do with this. And this is supposed to be an environmentally friendly company that don't want to keep their cars on the road.
Because we talked about this last week. Was it Fisker? We were trying to think of the name.
It was, yes. It was Fisker, wasn't it?
Where they all shorted.
All shorted out and all blew up. And I want to say it was in the hurricane up in New Jersey and New York area a few years ago. Would you like some news?
Yes, can we have some music, please?
Hang on. John Carpenter music coming up.
Car news.
I like the segment at the end.
First off this week in vacuum cleaner salesman tries and fails to make electric car news. Dyson's. Ooh, still going.
I know. That was operator error.
Dyson's, he of the vacuum cleaner fame, has scrapped plans to build what it called a groundbreaking electric vehicle because it doesn't feel the project can become commercially viable. The British firm, which actually has its headquarters overseas, but we'll get to that in a minute, had established an automotive division that was developing the car a large crossover-style premium EV saloon for launch in 2021. A billionaire inventor James Dyson had vowed that the new technology and design methods would make it stand apart from every other electric vehicle. The firm had committed £2.5 billion in technology included in the car project. The design and development of the machine was being undertaken by the staff of just over 500 workers at its facility in Wiltshire, England. If you didn't know, I think Sting owns half of Wiltshire. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Not the rainforest, Wiltshire.
No, just Wiltshire. It's understood the firm already had a working version of the car at its facilities, but in an email to staff, which we may or may not have seen, Dyson confirmed that the automotive project was being closed, and he said that the team has developed a fantastic car. They have been ingenious in their approach while remaining faithful to our philosophies. However, we simply can no longer see a way to make it commercially viable. Dyson's had been planning to produce the car at a new factory in Singapore, hence why they moved their headquarters away from Britain. Nothing to do with Brexit, even though they said, here's the best place to be. And was shortly due to start on the hugely capital-intensive project of building and tooling up that site, as the firm will have not been able to find a buyer for the project. Yes, I'm not sure. So I'm getting this straight. The motors that they used in the vacuum cleaners, which Dyson makes, is that what they were going to use?
The cars along the road. 20 of them. Well, you had to have a really long extension lead.
Do you think they reverse the polarity? So instead of sucking, they blow, and they just like hover and they glide around.
Didn't they reverse the polarity on the on that? The Detroit Motor Company car, the DeLorean. Wasn't that reverse polarity? Marty, you're going to take us back to 1955 with a Dyson. yeah, I have nothing but disrespect for Mr. James Dyson because he took his vacuum cleaners, which don't work. They're bloody useless. I stayed in a holiday cottage in Cornwall in the summer, and it had one of his cordless Dysons, and it didn't really pick up anything. That was pretty, the larger ones, cordless. Cordless, still pretty crap. And he had a relatively successful industry over here. That he first moved the factories out of Britain, starving British workers for jobs, to the Czech Republic. Then when that got too expensive, I think he moved them to Malaysia, and that got too expensive. And now his factory's in China. Well, yes. I can't see. If you've ever been to Singapore, a pint of Guinness costs you about £11.
What?
It is not it's not the cheapest place in the world. I mean, I haven't been to Singapore for 6 years, so it's probably more than that now. It is not the cheapest place in the world. It's on the end of the Malay Archipelago. I don't know where you'd build a factory because there's no space on Singapore. It's very much. That will be something to appease that. He's gone to Hong Kong. There's massive tax breaks. That's why. Sorry, Singapore. Yeah. That's why everybody goes to Singapore. Huge tax breaks, no inheritance tax. And what is he? He's getting on in years. He's thinking, I'll take all my money out of here, and then my kids I don't have to pay any inheritance tax to the British government.
Yeah. I think you're right there.
I don't know whether this was, pie in the sky. Elon Musk it's the law of diminishing returns. You need to produce so many cars to make a car company successful that, on a large scale. Otherwise, you're a bespoke little manufacturer. People like Morgan,
because they've not built any other cars. So how can they? If you've got one or two other production lines for different things, you benefit from the economies of scale and making them cheap. But if you're just making a small niche product, it's not going to be good, is it?
I don't know whether this was all smoke and mirrors, to be honest. I just don't know whether. Yeah, he might have, invested a bit, thrown a few things. So let's see what sticks to the wall. And obviously nothing stick to the wall. And he thought, I'll cut and run. I don't like the man. He's also a massive property owner in the UK. He owns a heck of a lot of land over here. And moves his head office to Singapore. Because his point was that manufacturing is too expensive in the UK. Well, apparently so expensive that one of the Pneumatic are in a massive... they make the Henry Hoovers in the UK, and they are massive production. Is all based down in Somerset. They're not still a family firm, not moved out of anything. He's moved all his out of the UK. He said, no. My head office will remain in England. My design and technology team will remain here. The design will be here. The brains will be here. I'm investing in future for Britain, and then he moves everything to Singapore. So there you go. As a partisan journalist, I must report the news, but up yours, James Dyson. Right. Meanwhile, staying in the Far East, going slightly further than Singapore, Toyota has launched a revved-up version of the Daihatsu Copen kei car, featuring a range of cosmetic revisions and chassis upgrades. The new Daihatsu Copen GR Sport, it looks quite sexy, is an upgraded version of the standard Copen Roadster, sold as a kei car in Japan, tuned up by Toyota's performance subsidiary Gazoo Racing. And it's part of the Toyota group. So, yes, it's like the standard Copen. The GR Sport will only be sold in Japan, which is a shame. And the price tag is going to be $17,500, which is not that bad a price considering what you're getting. Cosmetic revisions include a set of BBS alloy wheels, new front bumper, fog lights, fresh LED headlamps, large spec front splitter, front canards. It's a better looking car, I think, than the original Copen.
It still looks like a trainer, though.
It does.
It looks like you should have one on each foot.
Yes. I thought you quite like a small car, so I'm surprised you're not more excited. The Copen GR Sport includes upgrades, include stiffer springs, dampers, a reconfigure electric power, host of additional chassis braces, the front axle and floor. Toyota says improving the Copen's handling. So I would have thought you would have been into this, but is it too small?
It's too small. I think if I was in one of those, I'd probably look like Noddy driving around it.
But yeah.
I've got a little hat with a bell.
You can't take that blue hat with a bell off. I keep telling you. And you're also always taking big ears on the way to work.
Yes. It's a bit too cute.
Sorry, go on.
And I was going to say it's a bit too cute for my liking. They say
Yeah,
it's more aggressive in its styling, but
yeah.
it's just too cute.
It is. It is the second car. I'm sure it'd be quite. It looks quite like it'd be quite good fun to drive. My mum's neighbours had one of the original ones with the tin
Mm,
top roof.
yeah.
I think
Oh,
they,
I do like it. And the little bug eyes, I do like that, the
yeah,
original one.
for pootling around. But he was a huge guy, and used to see him sort of with his head sticking out of the top of over the windscreen. Um, it's going to be a sub 700cc engine, I think, which is one of the prerequisites for the key car.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So they're going to tune the nuts off that. So
Oh,
interesting. Hopefully, you'll see it over here in about 5 years with Japanese grey imports.
Oh, they must sound really good if it's 700cc.
Mm.
I'll give it a race with a lawnmower.
Or the Dyson vacuum cleaner.
Which doesn't work.
That does suck. Oh, it does suck. If you're listening to America, they really suck.
Moving on to if I had this much cash, I would buy a house news. BMW, our friends at BMW, the M car portfolio has just been further extended to with the introduction of the M8, or if you're a kid under 20, call it Mate. The M8 Grand Coupe revealed for the first time and already available to order in the UK. The M8 or Mate Grand Coupe sits alongside the two-door M8 Coupe and convertible models and is pegged as a rival for the Mercedes-AMG GT 63 four-door. There's a lot of numbers. The four-door variant is powered by the same 4.4-litre twin-turbocharged V8, which is available in two states of tune, a standard 592 bhp, which is pretty good, and then the 616 bhp competition model, identical two figures to the two-door models, despite the extra 200 millimeters added to the wheelbase, which usually makes handling better. In order to accommodate the rear doors, BMW claims the same 0 to 62 times of a amazing 3.3 seconds for the base car, 3.2 for the competition as the coupe. Similarly, the top speed is raised from 155. I thought most German cars are regulated to 155. Is that right?
You're right. So this will only be available outside Germany.
So they probably took the limiter off, and it's now 190 mph for the if the optional M drivers package is specified. Like the coupe, the Grand Coupe comes with a variable all-wheel drive system and an active M differential. Sexy terms. Various models allow the selection of the more rear bias setup, while turning everything off allows the M8 Grand Coupe to become rear-wheel drive only, which should be fun and will be good for all those tyre companies. BMW UK will only offer the competition variant of the M8 Grand Coupe as with the two-door model. It's priced from £120,000. With deliveries due to take place at the start of next year.
I hope you've got your order in.
I don't know how much. I've only got about 121,000. I wouldn't afford the tyres, especially the rear drive version.
I got about £120, so yeah, I can't. I can maybe afford a BMW baseball cap. So it's going to be the rival to the Porsche's Grand Tour of the Pan America, and we mentioned last week the Lamborghini Estique,
which is sexy. I like that.
Yeah,
car.
that looks good. This looks all right. It's okay. It's a lot of car, but a lot of money. And what's that falling sound I can hear? Oh, yes, it's the rate in which this car will depreciate.
The moment you sit inside
it, you'll be able to get that for about £25,000. So if you want to take £100,000 and burn it, that's up to you. I've had BMWs in the past. The old ones were very reliable. The new ones are not so much.
Well, I think that's the problem with German cars at the moment. I think Mercedes are suffering the same thing, where fit and build isn't as good as it used to be.
And I thought it was me because I come from a background of having a lot of Japanese cars, and I've had a couple of BMWs. And a friend of mine I met at a party a couple of weeks ago said, "Oh no, I had the same car. It was awful." I was like, "Okay." So it's not just me. The giant 20-inch wheels were cracking. Oh, yeah, I had that. Oh, and I had problems with the electrics that cost me £400 to fix. Yeah, I had that as well. And I was like, right, this was a 3.5, 4-year-old car. It shouldn't have been that bad. But yeah. And finally, in car salesmen really are scumbag news, the car sale finance is set to undergo a crackdown here in the UK after the financial regulator revealed they'd uncovered unfair practices among some retailers and brokers in the way they make their commission on sales. In a report issued today, the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, revealed that some sellers earned staged commission according to the interest rate at which they sold a car, with greater bonuses on offer for charging customers more. Christopher Woolard, the Executive Director of Strategy at the FCA, said, by banning this type of commission, we believe we will see increased competition in the market, which will ultimately save customers money. The FCA now proposing to enforce a fixed commission fee rather than tethering it to the interest rate at which it's sold. It says the move could save drivers around $165 million a year. The rules are set to be applied as of January next year. My advice: forget finance, forget hire purchase, buy a car you can afford, buy a car you can afford to run, more importantly, and not the newest model that will lose huge amounts of depreciation. The other possibility is if you fancy leasing.
I was going to say, you kind of can tell the drivers that have financed their cars, because usually they're the ones that are in high-powered cars at the lights and they don't zoom off because they can't afford the petrol.
Yeah, it's worryingly, yes, frightening but true. I've also thought this with lease cars, which you're looking at a minimum of about two. I investigated it a couple of years ago. It's a minimum of 150, 160 for a small car on lease. Per month. Well, the way you're looking at that, plus you also have to, you can't just rag the nuts off it. You have to make sure it goes back to the leasing company in a relatively good state. You have to get it serviced. You don't have an MOT, but you have to pay the road tax. You're looking at $2,000 a year. And I thought, well, I probably spend on the old car I've got $500 a year, and I'm losing nothing in depreciation. So that's $6,000 over 3 years. Well, I could just buy a brand new £2,000 car every year and just throw it away. Well, not brand new, but a second-hand new car every year.
I heard a story this week of one of my students, who shall remain nameless for obvious reasons, and they said they had a BMW, I think it was a 6 Series, and they sat on the bonnet, just leant on it, and it created a dent. But because obviously it was on finance or hired, they would charge an absolute fortune to just get the dent out.
Really?
And they had to pay for it. Well, usually you just go, there's a little bit of a mark, but yeah, it was a bit of a dent just from sitting on the bonnet.
My grandfather was a panel beater at Alvis, and I've still got some of his old tools. I think I would have been digging those out of the garage and having a go myself. Can't see it. Just gently tapping it out. Right, I believe it's time for the classic car selection.
It is classic car coming up, but coming up later on, we've got letters, Lost Highway, and the quiz. But as Rich said, first of all, it's the classic car. Now, usually we don't go for high volume cars on the basis that they're classics because they're high volume. Far from it. The classic is something that you don't have to pay a fortune for, but can live with every day. So this week, we have the world's best-selling 2-seat roadster. Any ideas what it is?
MGBGT?
Not quite. It's the Mazda MX-5, which was exactly. It was manufactured in Mazda's Hiroshima or Hiroshima. I can never get that right. Plant, and it debuted in 1989 at the Chicago Auto Show. And was conceived and executed under the tightly focused design credo, which is called Jinbai Itai. I think that's right. My Japanese is not very good.
Don't write in and complain.
It means oneness of horse and rider. So that's the philosophy they had. It was widely noted for its small, light, technologically modern, dynamically balanced, and minimally complex design. The MX-5 is the spiritual successor to the 1950s and 60s Italian British sports car, prominently the Lotus Elan,
Yes.
which, as you can see, influenced its design.
Yes.
In Japan, the car was not badged as a Mazda. It was, as the company was experimenting with the creation of different marks for deluxe models. Now, bit of history for you if you didn't know. Nissan had Infiniti, Honda had Acura, and Toyota had Lexus. So instead, the MX-5 was sold under the Yunos Roadster name in Japan. The interior dimensions and the engine displacement were also in compliance with Japanese compact car regulations. And in the US, it was known as the Miata, which, if you didn't know, was derived from the old German word for reward. So, generations were internally designated with 2-letter codes, beginning with the first generation, which is what we're concentrating on, which is the NA, and the second generation was NB, NC, and so on. As the best-selling 2-seater convertible sports car in history, the MX-5 has been marketed globally, and production exceeded 1 million as of early 2016. The original MX-5 came with a 1.6-litre double-over cam 4-cylinder producing a mere 115 bhp. The standard transmission was a 5-speed manual derived from the one used in the Mazda 929, which was also rear-wheel drive. The gear shift was subject to close attention during the development, with the engineers told to make the shift as small a gear pattern as possible for minimal effort, to give you the sense that it was fast when it wasn't. In Japan and the US, the optional automatic transmission was also offered, but proved unpopular. Japanese and American markets also received an optional viscous limited slip differential. I do like a limited slip differential, although it was only available for cars with a manual transmission. To achieve the low introductory price of $17,000, the base model was stripped. It had steel wheels, manual steering, roll-up windows, no stereo, no air conditioning, power steering and air conditioning, and a stereo were added as standard equipment later on. The original MX-5 was lauded for its reliability, at least compared to older European sports cars, but the Miata still has issues to look out for. So, on Car-Boyz, we always tell you what to look for. As these cars age, the most notable thing is rust, which is commonly seen on the rear rockers of the car. Though it can also be an issue near the front as well. The rockers actually feature drains, but the plug that's inside them usually builds up a lot of water, causing rust to build up, making this a definite spot to look for when inspecting. Similarly, check the state of the vinyl top if it's the fold-in roof version, though this is something you should do on any older drop top, as they can rip, crack, and especially if they've got plastic windows, break. The first generation MX-5s were phased out in 1997, with the exception of 400 limited edition Berkeley or Barclay models sold only in the UK, to mark the end of the production of the first mark. In total, the final 1500 N8s were produced for the US market, being the STO version, which stood for Special Touring Option. The Barclay was fitted with a twin-cam 1.8-litre engine and had 130 bhp. And to show you how much of a bargain these cars are, I went online today and I found a 1998 Barclay Special Edition in green, up in Leicestershire, with 140,000 miles on the clock, and you could pick it up for £2,395.
It's not a lot.
However, if you wanted a very low mileage version in comparison with 115,000 miles, there was one in Surrey going for £3,650.
Wow.
So there you have it. I give you the Mazda MX-5, the best-selling 2-seater roadster in the world.
A really good looking little car. A very good looking little car. And a car that handles fantastic. Rear wheel drive, of course.
Yep.
Friend of mine bought like a 1991.
Yes.
Getting up 10 years ago as a summer car. And he said, I'm going to sell this at the end of the summer. He drove from London to Italy, drove over the Alps, never let him down once, came back through San Marino, came back through southern France, up the west coast of France, was out there for a month. Then drove it around London and then went, I had enough, and sold it for about £1,000. It's like, what a fantastic. And he said he just didn't miss a beat. I said, did you have to do it? No, I didn't do a thing to it. And I like them with the steel wheels. I like them with no power steering. I like that ripped back, really raw. I know the Miatas in America have got a massive following, a massive classic car following. Slightly less so here, but what a fantastic car! So I can just hear my son is calling me. Can you fill for 5 minutes?
I can. Okay. I can indeed.
Enthuse about the MX-5.
I do. While Rich goes off to deal with his son, yeah, the MX-5. I do like the MX-5. It's a little bug. It's not like the Daihatsu Copen. It has little pop-up lights, which I absolutely love and adore. I have a friend who I think is in. I don't mind him out on this. He's in his 60s, but he bought an MX-5 as well and absolutely loves and adores it. And it's not going to break the bank with a 1.8 litre engine. It should be quite cheap on parts, and obviously being a Mazda, parts should be pretty easy to get. So
no, I'm back. I might have to go away in a bit. He needed to go to the toilet. He's only 4 and he couldn't reach the door to the handle on the. And I was like, well, let's try and save the carpet in the lounge while his mother's out. See, we can present a radio show and also do childcare at the same time. Men can multi-skill. Yes. MX-5, beautiful looking car. My friend had one of the more modern versions with all the chrome and a hard top on. I'd say she bought maybe a 2008, and it was a storming looking car in like a very light emerald green. It was fantastic. Yeah. So, yes,
things.
I'll do the classic car next week. I'm thinking. I think I'm going to bring it back to Britain. I've been inspired by something I saw the other day, so I think we might have a British land yacht. Are you ready for some Lost Highways?
I am.
Hang on. If I can
get the music out.
Get the music out. Hang on. I'm just putting. Here we go. There we go. New music, more royalty free for you there. I quite like that one.
I like the frontier music.
Yes, we're on the frontiers here with Lost Highways. I believe you're starting us off.
I am. If you've not heard the show before, we'll give you all the details of how you can contact us.
I'll quickly do that while you go through your notes. It is Car-Boyz. You can contact the show at Car-Boyz. And that's Car-Boyz with a Z at outlook.com. Write to us. Facebook is Car-Boyz at Car-Boyz, 4 Zs on the end. Twitter, Car-Boyz at Car_Boys, boys with a Z.
Fantastic. If you've got a favourite road, all you just need to do is contact us, just like Stefan does, who writes to us from the Haute-Savoie. Is that right?
In the French Alps? Yeah, nearly there, yeah.
He owns a Subaru Impreza, nice, and says the best driving road in the world, is quite a big claim, is the San Bernardino. Which is the San Bernardino Pass in Switzerland. It is one of the most beautiful and smoothest mountain passes in the Alps, and is therefore often frequented by vintage rally cars, he says.
Nice.
The approach to San Bernardino, which is best driven from the south, as they all say, runs along one of the beautiful valleys in Switzerland, the Mesollicanina.
Good luck, yes.
Because I go there very often. It's located...
Yes,
it's located south of the Alps in the Swiss Italian-speaking Canron Ticino. The architecture in this valley is very much Italian influence. The route taking you through beautiful alpine villages before starting your ascent of the pass.
Does that mean it's not built very well? Sorry.
It's made out of chocolate. The initial rise before you reach the village of San Bernardino, which is the official start point of this San Bernardino Pass, consists of wide sweeping turns, incredibly smooth roads lined by alpine trees. The grading at this point is not more than 5 to 8%, and really is a wonderful scenic run. You also pass by several deserted castles, testament to the importance of the valley in the Middle Ages, where it was the main trading route between North and South Europe. Once through the village of San Bernardino, it's also worth stopping for a coffee here, as there's a good choice of cafes, it says. The ascent steepens and narrows, but remains incredibly smooth. We do like smooth. The final stretch of the San Bernardino Pass, it rises above 1,800 meters and it is simply beautiful. Great stretches of switchbacks with dramatic rocks and small waterfalls and streams in abundance. This really is his favourite pass in the Alps. The ride down is a lot tighter and twistier than the up route, but is still utterly smooth and brilliant. The San Bernardino Pass really is the best way to get from Switzerland to Italy, and not to be missed. So, thank you, Stefan. That was a great road.
Lovely. We all love a tight and twisting ride.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Have I driven around? I think I have driven around the French Alps. I think it's quite challenging, but the roads are very nice.
Ooh. Is there a particular time of year that's good?
Summertime.
Oh, okay.
Like Will Smith says. It's really pretty in the summer. Nobody goes to the French Alps in the summer. But if you get up there in July, it's really hot. And you can go swimming in all the lakes, like Lake Evian, Lake Annecy. It really is very, very pretty. And the lakes are the water is just crystal clear. I don't do any. I've never done any skiing. My wife's been over there to do skiing. I don't do skiing. I'm a waste of blood. I want to go on holiday and come back with a broken leg. I can just get drunk and go to Malaga. That sounds really cool. I'm going to have to do that one. We've also got Michael, who lives in Iceland, says the best driving road in his home country is the Golden Circle.
Ooh.
As opposed to the Golden Shower. This 234-kilometre round trip from Reykjavik is stunning in every season. In fact, he says it's seeing it in different seasons and drastically different beauty. Each display is the reason to drive the scenic route a few times for different seasons if you have the time. It's also very well-trafficked tourist route serviced by buses from Reykjavik, but best thing is get in your car. He says the scenic route is a great option to do on your own. It allows you to stop off at other attractions. There's, now here we go, Thingvellir National Geyser. There's a Gullfoss waterfall. Added to the traditional Golden Circle route is a trip down to the town of Höfðagadi. Hang on. Höfðagadi. And the high plateau of Hellisfjord. You just go like York, and that'll do. There's lots of stuff to see, basically. It's a great drive. Take care, though. It's your first time in Iceland if you have limited time. The roads are well maintained and open throughout the year, depending on the daily weather. So that sounds very good. Iceland getting less and less expensive as time goes on. It was, I seem to remember, very expensive about 10 years ago, but obviously the plunging of the Icelandic economy has gone downhill. My son's just appeared in the studio and is wearing vampire teeth.
Fantastic.
We're nearly at Halloween.
I'd like to go to Iceland. It's the last place in the Scandinavian area that I haven't been to. So that's
Norway.
That Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and then I've done some of the Baltic. So yeah, I think Iceland's the last place of that. Group.
So you've done Estonia.
Yes.
What is up? There's Estonia,
Latvia,
Lithuania.
They're all good. All good.
So the last one is Iceland. I'd really like to go and jump in the hot thermal lakes. That looks quite interesting.
Well, for me, that's where all the mums go. So mums goes to Iceland.
If you're listening in America, it's just made a really poor reference to a supermarket chain in the UK called Iceland. And their logo was all the mums have been to Iceland, which is actually horrific. No, it's not. It's very lovely. If they would like to sponsor the show, Iceland, we love your products. I always eat Iceland food, and that's why I'm £780. Okay, I think it's time for correspondence in this week's Car-Boyz Post Sack. Yet again, bulging with mail. First off, Katie in Bristol. She's got £1,000 to spend on a car. What should she buy? She's got to work. She commutes to work daily and occasionally travels 75 miles to see mum and dad. She's only got £1,000. What do you think?
Obviously wants something reliable so she can use the daily commute that won't let her down. We thinking Japanese being the most reliable manufacturers.
Yes. If I was in this, I think with Kia and Hyundai, I think it's too old. I don't think the cars of that era, so we're looking 10, 15 years ago, are going to be any build quality. You're going to start having problems, especially if it's a daily commute. She doesn't say how long that is, and occasionally 75 miles travel. We had a look online, 1.4 Toyota Corolla, 56 plate, very boring car, 65,000 on the clock, only 3,000 for only, hang on, that doesn't make any sense.
So £3,900.
Yeah, no, for £900. That was
Okay.
a typo. That three should have been
£900.
£900 for a 56 plate car with 65 on the clock.
And it's Japanese, won't go wrong.
It won't go wrong. It'd be an awfully boring drive, but really, Toyota Yaris 2004, 1 litre, 58 on the clock, £650.
Oh wow!
But the one I really liked, this was the killer for me, because I own one of these. 3-door Honda Civic Sport 1.6.
Yes.
There's 2005 plate.
Yes.
64,000 on the clock. Full service history. Nothing on that car. Right, and I'll come to the what you have. She's got to watch out for. Nothing on that car. Those engines are good for 150, 200,000 miles. 3-door Civic Sport 2005 plate. It's an old car. It's 14 years old.
Yeah.
There was no marks on this car. I had a look online. 3 owners, full service history, £755.
Wow, that is good.
But with every single one of these cars, if they've got that 65, because they're older, so they're over 10 years old, and they're getting up for 60,000, 58,000, 64,000. Make sure the cam belt has been done. That is a point of contention, because I certainly know on the Civic that's about £400 because you've got to have a brand new cam belt. Ooh. You've got to have a new water pump. Yes. So that might be why it's priced at that. So that would be the point of negotiation. Maybe you could come down a couple of hundred to sort of because they're interference belts. So when that goes, it will completely destroy the engine. I've just spent that on my wife's car. I'm actually that made me cry looking at how much that's worth. And my wife's has got a lot more mileage and it's not the Sport. And it's a 2004. So mine is basically worth absolutely nothing. Wow. And that's why we love it. And it's the car we take to. So there is choice out there. But take somebody with you. I'm not saying Katie doesn't know anything about cars, but if you don't, take somebody with you to have a good look. Get a good look at the tyres. Make sure the treads are all right on there. Take the dipstick out. Make sure that's not black. Try and get it serviced. I think the one we looked at, the Honda Civic Sport, had an RAC sign off. So that had like a tick that it, that it had been serviced correctly, and that also that there's no hire purchase left on the car. So
good advice, I think, and also because there's so many of them about, so you can pick and choose. So if you don't like the first one, you can always go and find another one.
Exactly.
There you go. We have an email from Alan in Cyprus, lovely part of the world. Says he owns a classic sports car, an Austin Healey. Ooh. Nice. And he wants to take part in a rally in France. What's the best way to get there? What rallies have they got in France? I'm just trying to think.
Monte Carlo? There must be a Monte Carlo classic car rally.
Got to be, yes. And they're all done in very short stages, so it should be quite easy for him to take part in it.
I don't think we're suggesting flying there will cost a fortune. We had a look.
Because he's in Cyprus, isn't he?
Yeah. So Salamis Shipping will freight it from Limassol to Lavro in mainland Greece for you, but they won't let you get on the ship. So you've got to fly to Lavrio. Because Cyprus, if you don't know, is actually closer to sort of the Middle East than Greece. So the nearest country to Cyprus is Syria.
And you don't really want to go that direction.
No. So then you get to Greece. Then you've got to get it from mainland Greece through Albania and Italy to France. I think the best way is probably just to ship it by a container to Marseille and then drive it up from there. I think.
That said, I do hear Albania has some lovely beaches and the roads around there as well. So.
I've not been to Albania. I've seen Albania from the island of Corfu. And if it's anything like Corfu, which I assume it is, because literally you've got very a strait that you could almost swim across.
Yes.
If it's like Corfu, which it will be, it'll be beautiful because Corfu is fantastic. Obviously Corfu slightly less mafia. But yeah, you could have a little a road trip through. I wouldn't fancy doing that in an Austin Healey. Can you imagine breaking down in Albania and trying to find a part for a 1964 Austin Healey?
Yeah, you're probably
Snowball's
right.
chance in hell.
Stick it in a container with some spare parts if necessary.
So we're off to the States now. Andrew, I'll give you the email address again quickly. If you want to get some advice on what cars to buy, any motoring advice, we can't guarantee that ours comes with any level of authority, but we'll give it a stab. It's email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Off to Newark in New Jersey. I think it's in New Jersey.
Yes, I think it is.
It just said Newark, and I presumed it wasn't in Nottinghamshire. USA. Writes to the show. Love the show, boys. You need to do more features on American cars. I own a 2001 Buick Park Avenue Ultra, front-wheel drive, but with a supercharged 3.8 litre V6.
Where do you start with that?
How do you turn a corner in that? And he said it goes like stink. He bought the car from his uncle for less than $2,000, which is like 1,500 quid. He says, you want to check out early 1990s, early 2000 American cars are sleeper classics. And as we said, we did the quiz last week, the best-selling car in America the last 20 years was the Honda Accord.
Yes.
So I think Buick, Ford, Chrysler were trying to catch up, facing obviously they faced stiff competition from BMW and Mercedes. But these big 3-litre cars, Buick Ultra, Ford Crown Victoria, Lincoln Town Car, anything on the Panther platform, are incredibly cheap over there. I wouldn't advise you buying one over here because the petrol in the UK and the gasoline is going to kill you. But in the States, go for it. Knock yourself out. Their acceleration isn't. I had a look online at what the capability of this car is. It's a supercharger. It does fly, but there's a hell of a lot of front wheel spin, and I wouldn't fancy turning a corner in the thing.
But that must weigh quite a bit. If it's it's not a V8, it's 3.8 litre V6, which still is probably quite heavy. Transverse engine, the weight's all over the front.
Yeah,
that must be crazy.
Frightening. I think it's an auto as well.
Oh my word!
So that could be an interesting. But yes, we'll try and we'll investigate that. We might do a classic car look at this for the American market. I think that would be a good thing. I believe we've got one last email in.
Yes, last one from Adrienne from Manchester. Says she wants to buy an exotic sports car. She already has a company car and wants something sporty for the weekend. Something with the weekend, madam. Her budget is £5,000. She would like a more modern car than a classic. So on the list, obviously going from the classics for half that price, you can obviously get a MX-5. Which we mentioned in the classic car section.
Good driving car.
Yeah, but she doesn't. A more modern car. So what are we thinking? What's available as a?
We've got the sort
Fiat,
of Fiat Barchetta.
Yeah.
Fiat Coupe.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
That might be a bit old now. BMW 1 Series.
Because I was thinking like the Alpha Spider. They had a Spider version, didn't they?
They did. Cloverleaf, something really reliable. Just Mercedes SLK from the early noughties.
Ooh,
with the folding roof. That's a nice little car. That's good. That's a rear-wheel drive. Where they got like 1.82 litre engine.
And then I think slightly later, because they facelifted them to make them look like mini. What's the bigger Mercedes AMG versions? They had the same SLK, sort of grills. Yeah.
Very very nice little. Yeah, because it's like got a bullet nose front.
Yes,
those are the ones we're talking about. Yeah, I mean, maybe she can get one of those with relatively high mileage. Anything like that. I think the SLK. That would be that if I was going to get something for the weekend, that's what I'd get rather than the MX-5. I'd get something a bit more exciting and probably stay away from anything that says Fiat or Italian on it. But that's just my personal opinion.
Not unless you've got a pot of money that you just want to waste.
Would you like some quizzing?
Oh yes, please.
Let's have quiz music. Quizzing. Here we go.
I love the music. Dun, 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 dun.
Hello, welcome. This week's quiz is the Wheels of Fortune, and I did say the Wheels of Fortune. Does this car have two-wheel drive, permanent all-wheel drive, or optional four-wheel drive? I'm Les John Lee, and I used to be famous on a kids' TV show and daytime TV until I started dating a stripper nurse and getting caught with my weenie out on camera. But these days, folks, I'm back in the hot seat of broadcasting, hosting a show on an internet radio show. It's the big time for old Les. This week, the quiz is called Wheels of Fortune, and like my old TV show, but unlike that show, which tested the ability of morons from Arbroath how to spell, our quiz questions a moron from North London on his ability to guess whether particular cars have two-wheel drive, permanent all-wheel drive, or optional four-wheel drive. Joining me tonight is Enfield's answer to Ainsley Harriott, Mr. Simon Sujiwan, who's just like Ainsley Harriott, apart from his ability to cook, but with the skill of not being an annoying TV star. Hi, Simon. Welcome to the show. We're glad you could join us here in glamorous southwest London. And as usual, we put you up in a dilapidated hostel near Heathrow Airport and given you vouchers for the Wetherspoons pub. Free drink limit. If you score more than 50%, you'll walk away with a blankety-blank checkbook and pen. Les Dawson era, I mind you. I bought one on eBay last week for only £8. What a bargain. I've got to stop the Scottish accent. But
I thought it was Jeanette Cranky.
I am still Les John Lee. Right. Are you ready for the quiz? So to get the idea, the idea is you've got to tell me whether it is permanent all-wheel drive, optional four-wheel drive,
or two-wheel drive. Okay, I can do this.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
First one, Land Rover Series 1, 1948 to 1951.
Ooh, I would say that would be a permanent four-wheel drive because it was based on a Jeep.
Correct. They had no way of disengaging the permanent four-wheel drive. Number 2, going across the States, Jeep Grand Wagoneer, 1994 to 1991.
Oh, Wagoneer, not to be confused by Wagon Wheel, which is a jammy biscuit. I would go for optional four-wheel drive.
Incorrect. It was optional four-wheel drive. Moving over to
Handled
the Far
like
East.
A wagon wheel.
I haven't got a bong, but my lamp will have to suffice. Moving across the Far East. There you go. In fact, that could be our correct sound, couldn't it? That does sound like the budget of this show as well.
Yes,
nothing.
Says it all.
Moving across the Far East, Toyota Land Cruiser BJ F40, 1960s to 1990s.
Ooh, this is a tricky one. So I'm going to have a stab at permanent all-wheel drive.
Correct. Hang on.
Ooh.
Permanent four-wheel drive it was indeed. Sticking in Japan, Mitsubishi Evo 7 2001.
Oh, tricky one. So the Evo was a rally car.
Monster.
So I'm going to say it would probably be permanent all-wheel drive.
Correct, with all AYC and all-wheel control using the power to the times at all. So it had to be permanent four-wheel drive because it had the yaw control shoving the.
Oh yes, it
wherever
did,
the power was needed, it shoved it to that particular wheel. Oh, of course, a classic car from last week, Daihatsu Fortran.
Oh, I'm going to get absolutely flamed if I get this wrong. Oh. It looks like it's quite rugged, but I don't think it is. So I'm going to go for two-wheel drive.
No, how dare you!
Oh,
you've been in that car. It has 2 gear sticks. It had optional spinning hubs at the front that you had to lock.
Of course.
It had optional four-wheel drive, so you could select just the rear-wheel drive. Which I drove around on mostly, and then in harsh weather, you would lock the freewheeling hubs at the front on each side,
of course,
and then you could go into low range. How very dare you! Subaru, wait for it, the Justy, which is the baby Subaru, made from late 1980s to early 2000s.
Justy, which wasn't that
it's the tiny one.
Poor man's Vitara. No, that's Vitara. I'm thinking.
No, it's just a poor man's. No, it looks like Subaru's Fiesta.
So small car. I'm going to go for that's got to be two-wheel drive.
I'm going to give you that because the answer is yes. You could either have permanent four-wheel drive or just two-wheel drive.
That
Very
sounds
strange.
quite unusual actually for
Yeah.
such a small car.
I think the idea was if you buy into the Subaru brand and you've got an Impreza or an Outlander or a Forester, you'd probably live up a farm road and the missus wants a small car. Then she's got the option to say, well, I need to get up the farm road as well, sweetheart, with the kids. I want a small car. Then I'll have that little four-wheel drive Justy. Moving across to Range Rover Mark 1. 1970 to 1981, the first Range Rover.
So first Range Rover. I think again could be quite tricky. I'm going to go for optional four-wheel drive, low ratio, high ratio.
Four-wheel drive. The designers thought it was a far superior way to create an off-road vehicle for rich landowners and the Chelsea set. But the originals had permanent four-wheel drive. Back to Japan. A Mitsubishi L200 pickup truck.
Pickup truck.
1978 to 1986. This was, I think, Mark II.
I don't think they would have had four-wheel drive, but then it's quite rugged, so I will go with two-wheel drive.
I'm afraid it had optional two-wheel drive courtesy of the rear wheels and selectable optional four-wheel drive. So exactly the same setup as the Daihatsu 4-Track. Okay, right, back to Europe. The VW Caddy pickup truck, 1979 to 1996. Basically a Golf.
I need to raise my game. Basically a Golf. Golf's never had four-wheel drive, so they certainly in those years they wouldn't have had four-wheel drive. So I would go for two-wheel drive.
Correct. It's two-wheel drive. What's the point of the damn thing? But there you go. I think they also did an awful Skoda version of it.
Yes, I think you're right.
It turned into a four-seater from a two-seater, and you pulled out two extra seats and part of the cab into the flatbed of the truck. It was a really weird setup. I can't remember what the Skoda version was called. They were always in bright yellow.
Did they have bull bars as well?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, disgusting car. Sticking with Skoda, the Skoda Yeti, 2007 to 2017.
Yeti. So if you haven't seen a Yeti, it's like a windy house on wheels. Skoda. I don't think Skoda had four-wheel drive on their vehicles. So, two-wheel drive.
I'm going to give you that because they did come in two-wheel drive, but they also had an optional four-wheel drive.
Okay.
So we'll give you that because it does look like the school run car, and I think if you had any sense, you just bought the cheap two-wheel one. Okay, back to Japan. Subaru Brat, 1978 to 1994. Familiar stateside, but not really in the UK. It was a funky little pickup. It also had rear seats facing the back, in the pickup bed, so completely outside the cab to avoid US import tax on pickups. So you would sit with a seat with a lap belt facing the rear of the car.
Oh dear. So, what was this? Subaru?
Subaru Brat, 74 to 94.
Subaru's known for having four-wheel drive, quite agricultural usually. So I will go for permanent all-wheel drive.
Yes, correct. That's right.
Woo-hoo!
Permanent four-wheel drive. But as we're running over our hour at the moment. Sticking to Japan, Suzuki Samurai, 1981 to 1994, known in Japan as the Jimny.
So Samurai, all show, no go. I would go two-wheel drive.
No, permanent four-wheel drive.
Shocking.
I know somebody that had one and lived in the French Alps in white with the pink flashes. Actually, is calling it a Suzuki Samurai, would that be quite a bad thing to call it in Japan? Because a samurai was sort of regarded as quite rugged warriors and scary. That's probably why it's called the Jiminy, like Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket.
Not called. Is it like in the same way that the Irish there was a company called Matsui that made electrical equipment for Dixon's in the 1980s.
Yes.
Apart from fact that Matsui committed horrific war crimes in World War II. They didn't really do their research there. So interesting to find that out. Okay, we're nearly out of time. We better wind this up. Talbot Ranchero, 1980 to 1984. I think it was the Simca or the Simca.
Yes, I remember those. They were great.
Flatbed with it looked like somebody had put a Range Rover on the hot wash.
Yes.
It was a smaller version of the Range Rover. That most of the rear cab was made out of fiberglass and polyester.
Much like the clothing at the time.
You couldn't put anything on the roof of that car or it would just collapse. It had no roof rack.
Oh, they were good. I did like the look of those. I would go for... I'll go for optional four-wheel drive.
No, just front-wheel drive. It was a pile of crap. And finally, Fiat 4x4, 1990. Fiat, well, I've just given it away. That was a permanent... What was I going to say? Fiat Panda 4x4. What do you reckon?
Possibly 4x4. I'm guessing that means four-wheel drive. So 4-wheel drive.
Permanent 4-wheel drive. Yes. Correct.
Woo-hoo.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 14. You win the Blacksy Blank checkbook and pen. And hopefully my career will be coming out of the doldrums with the success of this quiz show on Car-Boyz. Unlike, I don't know why I went northern there. I forgot that I was doing Les John. Fantastic.
You're talking about pens. It was Michael Parkinson.
Yeah, that's right. You can't get a Parker pen cheaper than this price if you buy this awful insurance policy that really won't pay out. So that's about it from the show this week. If you want to email the Car-Boyz, we are available on email at car-boys@outlook.com. We'll endeavour to answer your questions, be they car related or not. That's car-boys with a Z at outlook.com. We're on Facebook, car-boys, boys with a Z at Car-Boyz, 4 Zs at the end. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys, car-boys at car_boys. That's about it from us. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Please join us next week. I think we're going to do a classic Austin from the 1970s in a classic car of the week, and we'll be back and answering your questions. Get lost, get a life. Ta-ta.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.